Step right up and join the most vibrant circus community in the world, circustalk.com. This is In Center Ring. I'm your host, Jonathan Lee Iverson. She is the daughter of one of the circus industry's most acclaimed dynasties. She has charmed audiences of all ages with her family's masterful legacy of animal husbandry and goodwill. In Center Ring presents Jenny Vidbel.
I always feel like Forrest Gump. Jenny, my original circus crush. Don't tell my wife. Don't share this with her.
They're sealed.
It's so good to see you. You look great. I love the books, of course. You know, your brain is always, as illuminating as you are, dear.
Oh, geez. Oh, shucks.
How have you been?
Good. Yeah, good. It was a scary, not scary for us, but weird year, and didn't know what I was gonna do with all these animals, and came home, and just the summer ended up being great for me. I had one little boy come by, 4 years old, with his mom to see the animals, and the mom asked me if I would do lessons with him, riding lessons. I'm like, I don't give lessons. I've never had a lesson in my life. I'm not,
Right.
I'm not going to do that. And she asked like 10 times, and I'm like, oh, all right. A 4.5-year-old, I can handle this. And this woman would hang out at the pool in town, and she told every mom, and I'm like I was at 20 students, I think, this summer.
Wow.
But they kept me busy because it's all individual. You can't there's no groups. We're in New York, so
Right.
it's a little different than Florida, but so that was my summer, and it turned out to be just great. It kept us going, and it was really surprisingly, inspiring for me. I really had a good time. So.
I love it. Now, how many animals do you have? And please tell us the variety of animals that you have.
So I just went through this. It's fresh on my mind because I had my two junior farmers, we call them, that were here this afternoon, and we went through a count of all the animals, and it's 59 in total.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So it's a lot. We've got 32 horses and ponies, 9 dogs, 9 goats, 3 alpacas, pigs, and a rhea, which is the smallest version of an ostrich.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Your story reads like a doggone novel, and I'm like, we have to get into it. I mean, you Al Vidbel, immigrant from Poland, falls in love with the gorgeous Joyce Lane, a dancer and showgirl and an equestrian in her own right. And, they fall in love at Ringling Brothers, or did they fall in love before that?
At Ringling Brothers. My grandmother, she was in her early teens. I'm so bad with years and ages, but I know she was very young. She loved horses, and she wanted to do more than just your typical riding. Mm-hmm. So she found, I don't know how she found this place in the 1930s. She was in New York on this farm, and she found this place in Nebraska that taught kids how to Roman ride, trick ride, dressage, everything. It was called the White Horse Ranch, and that's what she wanted to do. So her mother wasn't sure, my great grandmother. So she got on a train. They both got on a train and went to Nebraska from New York, so my great grandmother could check it out and make sure it was okay for my grandmother. She approved, and Grandma stayed there for 2 years, learning all of those disciplines. And an agent came at the end of the 2 years. Agents were coming and looking at these kids and what they could do. And they called my grandmother into the office and they said, we have a job for you. You can work for Gene Autry.
Wow.
And grandma thought that they were just mocking her and it was a joke. And so she got up to leave. And grandma was quite excitable. She had it in mind, this was a joke. And so she got up to leave and the agent said, well, all right, forget it. Then how about Ringling Brothers? And that's where she went.
Well, that's not a bad alternative.
Not a bad alternative. And so she went there and my grandmother was a babe. And we always joke that she going to Ringling, when she was on her own and she was this beautiful, beautiful blonde. I mean, just breathtaking Marilyn Monroe, but with a country girl innocence to her. And she goes to the Ringling show and she could have her pick. And she chose the Pollock in the elephant department.
That seems to be the tradition, though. It's always a young, fresh, good-looking new woman who comes on the show, and it's like everybody's. And I have no shame. I was among the wolves. Who was that?
Well, for me, when I went to Ringling, it was I was very protected because I had 32 animals along with me on Ringling, and my grandparents. They needed to stay with me then, so I was quite the entourage.
Oh, yeah, you're one of those. You're a rare bird. Because if you were by yourself with that smile, are you kidding me? You'd have had problems. You'd had a lot of problems. Good trouble, as John Lewis would say. I always tell you a story about Daffodil, your elephant. Mm-hmm. Being your babysitter, because I'm going, how naughty do you have to be for your elephant to intervene?
I never thought about it that way.
I'm like, man, they must have been bad kids.
She knew too. That trunk extended, and she was like, "No, girls."
Right. I'm like, that is so wild. But I mean, I just think of that, and I go, every time I have to have those discussions with people and their animal concerns, I relay that story to them. I'm like, you have to think about that animal would have that kind of intimacy to know the character of, another species enough to, just intervene in that way and kind of like, okay, calm down. And so gently, because it's a powerful animal. That's a big, powerful animal. And you were little girls at that time.
Yeah.
And everybody's little to an elephant. I'm 6'4", and that still would be, I mean, but that's something really charming and magical and just very natural about that, that I think we all miss sometimes, that every living thing, it responds to energy, it responds to love, it responds to all sorts of things. Please tell us a little bit about, just growing up on a farm, growing up with multi-generations in your home. I think that's such an advantage for, children to just have that kind of appreciation for lineage that's alive and well in your house.
Yeah. And it's I thought it was the most wonderful experience. And at one point, I guess my sister and I were, we have pictures of it. I think we were 2 or 3 years old. And my great grandmother was here as well. So we were all in this house together. And, all I can remember was like, there was never chaos. It was just love, man. It was just love. And it was I'm so glad that I was brought up in that here, where it was like, no, this is what it is. It's family. It's, like it was so much just love. And it felt like the world revolved around my sister and I, but then again, our world was all them, we were just, it was, I know it's odd to say one big happy family, but we certainly were in that time. And it was just, wonderful experience. And then the animals, and so we have our family that's so tight knit in the house, but then we also know that the animals are like everything. So it was, even with my great grandmother, every Christmas, every holiday, we'd have to make sure, and Susie and I were little peanuts, like barely understanding, but we knew we had to go, like on the holidays, we're bringing special treats to the animals in the barn.
Right.
And we're going to clean their stalls. We're going to do all of that before we, come back in. It was just like, it wasn't even, how can I say this? It wasn't even like we were doing something special. No, this is just what you do. They're our family, and as well, they're a big part of this family, and you just do it. It's life.
It's the culture of your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I remember you telling me about how you and your sister would go in the mornings with your granddad, and I guess you would feed the animals, or you would be a part of, you had duties, you had chores.
Yeah.
Your first interactions were in fact taking care of them.
Yeah. I mean, and I think about it every morning when I walk to the barn now. When I was 3 years old, following my grandfather to the barn to help, I'm walking those same steps every morning still on this farm that's 5 generations. And I love it. I still have the same excitement building as I'm getting closer to the barn, and I open the door and I'm just like in my little heaven. And yeah, the performing aspect of it too, it's always exciting, but it's never, my favorite time is in the ring, practicing alone, an empty tent, just and Big Apple Circus was always surprised when I would keep the grooms in the barn. They're working in the barn and I'm practicing, but you need somebody in there with you. No, I don't. and it was a thing.
Don't you know who I am?
It's my thing. They would come, and there's fences around the back of the ring, and it's like, I don't want anybody here. This is my time with these guys. And I cherished it. And when my grandmother would come to visit, that's how we would have coffee. She'd come in the ring with me. We were running the horses at 6 a.m, and I just put 2 folding chairs in the middle of the ring, and the 6 horses would exercise, and we're having our coffee, and it was
wow. It's sort of a sanctuary.
It is. It's the greatest sanctuary. It's your escape. It's another world for me. Another world.
In your performances, which are always so charming, they've always been among my favorite, to why I could watch you all day, is there's this joy that just emanates, that's so sincere. It's like, man, it's not even work. I don't think that's work for her. It's like, they're just dressing up and having a good time, and it really just emanates.
It is and it's always been, before I went to Ringling, when I was really poor, had no money, my grandparents' show had closed. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I was working at Southwick Zoo in Massachusetts. I was there for 5 years, and I would do 4 shows a day. So I had 2 20-minute shows, and I performed them twice. And I had to talk, which is, I don't know how to talk on a microphone. I just can't do it. I can't do it. And terrified. So that was just what a mess. Me going, I had 2 days to set up. I had this huge sound system, and I have no idea. So I just started plugging stuff in until I got sound from the microphone, and then of course feedback and all of this, and I forget everything I'm going to say, and it was just like, what a mess. But anyway, I got through it, and then it was quite a shock for me. The same, we're not traveling, it's 6 months at the zoo, and I thought, well, finally, I have time to really spend with the animals. And so I set up my lights in the ring, and I would do my 4 shows, and then I would start practicing at night. And it was it was just magic. I just loved it. And I think it was those years that I really discovered how much I love to just connect, and with no pressure. there was no, I don't know where I'm going after here. I don't know what, but I wanted, I had all these ponies and I thought, let's try for 12. I've never done 12 before. Let's do it. I'm here, doing nothing. So that's how I built those 12 ponies that went to wrangling. It was every night after my 4 shows at the zoo. And just like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to play around with this and see where I get.
To hear you say that to me is so empowering, because I think you still have that choice. It's not so much about, well, what's the next step? Obviously, we're not in control of that at all.
We're not. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where, that's where all of a great creativity comes from, is when you're not, where you've got nothing to lose. You're just, there's no pressure. It's just, what do I want to do? Oh, this would be fun. And it's where I've had my success in my career has been only that. It's been, okay, let's try. I just feel like doing this. Let's do this. And
it's a very pure place.
Yeah.
It's a very pure place. It's like being a kid again.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I never grew up. I was really blessed with this wonderful family that was always so supportive. Even when, in my teen years, I had a lot of interest when we grew up, in a circus family, but we were home quite a bit, and we had to take piano lessons, and we took dance lessons, and we had like this as much of a normal life as they could provide for us. And they were so clear about, us making our own choices. We weren't pressured to stay with the family show. It was what we needed to do, what we wanted to do, and they were going to be behind us 100%. So that helps too, when, they've got your back no matter what, and you have, the possibilities are endless. And my grandfather, because he was the best. But he would always tell me, Jenny, you can do anything you want, anything in the world that you want to do, you can do it. And he's like, if you want to be an opera singer, you can be an opera singer. And I'm like, I think it's more likely that I'd be a lion tamer than an opera singer. But thanks.
So, way to believe in me. Thank you.
But it was that freedom.
You were on your way to being a modern dancer, right? I mean, because I remember we talked about that, how like you were about to make that big choice to.
Yeah, it was. I was very young, and who knows? At 5'1", I doubt it, but I doubt it. But there was that choice, where my studio had this little tour. They asked me to go to Europe with them for the summer, and that would mean, no Vidbell Circus. And I remember the looks on my grandparents' faces, and I could see that they were, like, oh, okay, what are we gonna do? But the words coming out were, you got to do what you want to do, and I couldn't go,
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And no, never, ever any regrets. It was like a decision. It was a hard decision I had to make, but it was the right one. And not saying that, I'm sure I would have gone on that little tour and failed miserably.
Really?
Back to my ponies, but
I could see you doing modern dance. That would have been awesome.
I now I lean. So when I went to the zoo, part of my nightly ritual was taking dance lessons, so I got back into it, but with ballroom, not with modern dance.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Well, I mean, of course, some of that was on wonderful display when you were with Big Apple Circus, especially with the wonderful show you all did, the Grand
Tour. Yeah,
the Grand Tour. Yes, yeah. And I saw that. I mean, it wasn't George Ballantyne, but it was it was charming enough where I said, oh, okay, I can see the dancer is there. I mean, the way you moved and, just how lyrical the acts were, and just, and, of course, your personality and that doggone smile of yours that just, is my kryptonite, I tell you. I mean, it was there, it was beaming. And I could see it. I said, oh, okay, that's where the dancer is. I mean,
can
look,
we do this every night? I'll just like, I'll get my wine and we'll just do this interview every night. And life is going to be just great for me.
that's going to be the midnight edition. I think I'm going to have instant ring after hours. I love when you explain that interaction where you approached them and you came to them and you let them know you had an opportunity to go to Europe. And even though their words were saying one thing, their face, their body language was saying something else. And how wonderful, because it was obviously a challenge for them. I mean, that's part of growing up as parents and as guardians of our children. It's like, oh my goodness, all those things. I told them they could have freedom, but I didn't mean it. I didn't want it to be tested, but and I guess for them, I'm sure their hearts sang when, you made the decision that you wanted to continue the family tradition and legacy, and that you meant it, which is most important.
But it wasn't like, because I think that they saw that maybe there's going to be more decisions like this coming up in her life that don't just play it cool. So they played it so cool. It wasn't like, rejoicing that Jenny's staying, because then that's going to put it in my head that another decision comes up, I can't, because of my, my grandparents need me. They were very, very clever about that. They wowed the parenting, I think, when I think back about it, like, wow.
I remember when I first met you, I met you and your sister. I was given that gift by my buddy, the late, great Mark David. And we met you at the Vidbell old time circus. I just thought it was so awesome. These lovely twins who were running the show and you were performing in it. And it was so funny. I remember when Mark took me to see the show, he's like, this is a real circus. It's like, this is a real circus, because I mean, Ringling, you're spoiled. You got a train, you have a whole wardrobe department. And it was an education for me to really see that, to see you all, I mean, have to really just have your hands in every stinking corner of your company.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand just how much goes into just maintaining a business such as that.
My sister and I were my grandfather's sons that he never had. And we would be, we all had our jobs, so I had the pony ride. I had to set up my little tent with 12 stakes and, I had my tent for the horses and then the tent for the pony ride. And that was my part. And my sister had concessions. So she had to spin cotton candy and popcorn. And of course, we're all, if we have a really busy day or something breaks down, then we're all jumping in and helping each other. But wherever we're needed. But I remember when we weren't old enough to drive, so we were little. But if we had we lost some guys on the crew and we needed to get the tent down, and we had some kind of slow pokes out there. My sister and I would go out, and we were little, but we knew how to carry, just by technique, not by strength, carry the seat boards. So we would do it. And then, man, you'd see the guys that were slower carrying 2 seat boards. And my grandfather would say, that's good enough. You can go back now to the pony ride. It just took us 2 little girls.
Right.
One
Jab their egos for me, please.
Yeah. And then at the end, when Grandma and Poppy were off the road, Susie and I were, I had my CDL license. If we were short a driver, I was doubling back. I'd have the animals. We'd go first. We'd set up the tent, put all the animals out, and then I'd double back with my Peterbilt and get the seats or whatever trailer was next ready to go. So it was hard. It was one day stands, but it always, again, it felt like, let's do it.
Right. Well, how long was your season?
In the end, it was about 6 months.
Okay.
And mostly one day stands.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But it was, there was a rhythm, man. We were a machine and we had, it was rare, but we had like a rare for a circus our size, but we had the most beautiful lots. in northern New Jersey. We played the coast too, but northern New Jersey, I swear we played every town in northern New Jersey. And so our jumps were the shortest jump we ever had was 2.5 miles, and we killed it in both towns. It was for PTAs. So 2.5 miles, as the crow flies. I think it was 6 miles that we actually had to drive on, and sold out both towns. We weren't competing against each other, and then the average jump was 50 miles. So you get into that rhythm, and it's really not that bad. And then when we would have a 2-day stand, it was like a vacation.
Oh, that's the business. No business like show business. Oh my gosh, man. Because it's so funny. I remember when we met up briefly on Ringling, and then they took you away. And we were talking. I said, "Man, don't you miss running your own show?" And you were like, "No."
No. It was great. It's great memories. I don't regret any of it. Right. But it was hard, and it's something you do when you're young. I'm definitely 45 years old. I ain't going back to that.
I hear you. Man, you look wonderful. 45. You're aging like a Black person. I'm telling you, you look great.
The ponies keep me young.
That's what it is. That's what it is. How awesome. How awesome. Now, where you are at this moment in your life, you're still carrying on the legacy. You're in the place where you grew up, and you're overseeing the Al and Joyce Vidbel Foundation, right? That's the name of it?
Yes, the Al and Joyce Vidbel Foundation. And this is something that, I think when I first joined Big Apple and I attended the first Circus of the Senses with my animals, that was it. The very first one was it for me. This is what I want to do. I want to work with children with special needs. And then it advanced, then I'm like, okay, I was learning more about autism. We have to do this because animals it's amazing the benefits that animals have with children on the autism spectrum, adults on the autism spectrum. As we're going along, I lost my grandfather during the Ringling season, but my grandmother was with me for a lot of the Big Apple tour. And, I saw what animals did for her in her older years, when she couldn't, she was a very active woman. And then when she wasn't so active anymore, it was just those walks in the horse tent, and feeding the animals and maybe helping me groom and our morning coffee, exercising. So that's what the foundation is all about. It's about animals helping people, and we're everywhere now with that. It was this one idea, and now it's morphed into, all of these programs that we're going to have. Over the summer, I started teaching, and at first I was really intimidated. I didn't want to, it was only going to be children. I didn't want to teach adults riding. As I said, I've never had a proper riding lesson in my life. But my significant other said, I'm panicking at night. Like, I don't know what I'm going to teach. I have no business teaching this. And he's like, Jenny, teach what you know. He said, teach what your grandfather taught you. And I'm like, okay. So
I don't know if these kids can take that.
So the next day he sees me with these little peanut kids, and they're wheeling the wheelbarrows and they're grooming the horses. And I'm like, pick up their feet. You got to pick out their feet, a 4-year-old picking out a horse. But that's what we did. And what I realized, over the summer is that's what, that will be the Al and Joyce Vidbel Foundation as well. It's not a therapeutic riding program. It's about this connection and what these animals can do for us and what we can do for them. So
wow, how beautiful. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, your grandparents are just reliving themselves through you. In many respects.
What's funny is, so my grandmother, she ran a pony camp here on the farm. And we're still getting phone calls from her campers saying how much my grandparents changed their lives. And being on that farm, now they all mostly came from New York City. The parents basically came here in May, dropped them off, and picked them up in September. And they spent, the summer here on the farm. And this is my grandparents now. So this wasn't like pony camp where you
Right.
ride ponies and you play games. No, they're trick riding, they're Roman riding, they're jumping, Roman riding over hurdles. They're doing all of this stuff. And so we're getting these phone calls and I'm like, wow, not only do I feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose, but every animal that comes here has a purpose to help others. But it's also this farm. This farm is like so special, and we're getting it already. The kids that came here this summer were crying when they had to go back home, and we're getting letters with drawings of little Fred. That was the first pony and his only friend during COVID, because this 4-year-old had, he couldn't talk to his friends. They weren't, so I'm so excited about it. And it's just, it's going to be, I just can't wait to dive in with the foundation work.
I think it's beautiful, Jenny. I think it's, it's exactly what's needed. And I think, again, it progresses our understanding of the animal world and how much we can glean from animals and how much they do impact our lives. Giving children that kind of experience is really essential. And it's so wonderful. Because it just tears down a lot of misconceptions. It forces them to, learn how to interact with a living, breathing something else, to care for something. I think that's the biggest thing. I had a girlfriend one time who used to tell me that when I was young and crazy, she bought me like some fish. I don't know what she said. Jonathan, you need to learn how to take care of something. I'm going. First she bought me a plant. And that didn't work out. Then she bought me a fish. And that didn't work out, really. But I got her point. And I think it's a wonderful and beautiful thing to do. I think it's so vital. Is it a non-for-profit foundation?
It is. We are, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So is there somewhere where, people can donate and send funds to help you out?
The website folks just came here yesterday, so they're working on that. We have a Facebook page, the Ellen Joyce Vidbel Foundation, and you can get the contact information from there.
And speaking of non-for-profits, you're going to be a part of Omnium, a bold new circus. I was so happy.
I've got
Oh my goodness. Oh my Lord. Look at you. I love it. I love it. Yes. We'll be masked up. You're going to have your act. You're going to have an act for Omnium. I can't wait. I was so excited when I heard about that, because you know me, I've been chasing you down my whole career. I've been like, I've never had the opportunity to introduce Jenny Vidbel. It's just it's on the tip of my tongue. You know what I could do with that name in a center ring somewhere? Jenny Vidbel. Oh, man.
Well, I'm excited. I can't wait. This is January, right? It's going to be aired.
I think we're featured December 12th. It's coming up.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah. Well, it's virtual, you see. So, we have the virtual thing, so we can, I finished my part.
It took me a while. They said, okay, how long is it going to take you? And I'm like, well, 18 horses, and I got to wash them, and then they got to dry, and it's like 30 degrees up here, and it's snowing tomorrow. So it took me a while, but I got it. I got the footage.
Oh, no. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, it's all up to them anyway, if they feel like doing it. It's like, it's 30 degrees, lady. I don't know if we feel like running.
Well, I got it. I finally coordinated, so it's on film. They're pretty clean. And it's not snowing, and we got through it. So.
That is so awesome. And do you foresee yourself continuing to perform in this medium that we have now, the virtual space? Is that something you desire to do?
No. And I'll tell you why. Because I was approached a couple times this summer and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, but I have technically I'm just like, can't do it. So
I hear you.
I tried in the first one with just complete luck. It went great. And so I'm like, all right, let's do another one. And I guess it was cloudy that day. I don't know. We kept losing the signal or feed or whatever you want. I don't know what it's called. So I had to keep repeating myself because it was live, and then I forgot where I was. And I'm like, wait, did you already see this? I don't know where it got cut off.
Oh, wow. Oh, you did it live.
We did it live. Yeah. Mm-mm. Yeah. So it was, after that when I'm like, I think I'm going to pass.
Well, listen, this is the wonderful thing about it. I mean, we either evolve or die, and we're learning these new little tricks. I mean, I had the privilege of hosting the Bindlestiff family circus, and we did a live virtual, and it was quite the experience. I mean, it's just so different. Where I could wear my costume and basically be in my underwear at the same time. This is wonderful, I mean, it's like, hey, hi, boys and girls, and I'm in my slippers.
Well, that's exactly what's happening here. It's sweatpants and woolly slippers.
It's like she looks dazzling.
I do have to say that I did a live performance for Bindlestiffs, and that's a whole nother thing because they're so professional and so on it, and so they took care of every technical difficulty.
Yeah, very much so. And they learned on the go. They put that together, and I was so very impressed with it because they do it every Monday, and you can see they've gotten progressively better with their broadcasts. It's just amazing what they've done in 7 months.
Yeah.
And it's scary to me because I'm like, I don't know how you do that, and then you're flipping over to other people and hopefully their signal is right.
Yeah. And that was the thing. It was like, and when we did it, it was raining. Well, our rehearsal, we were raining. So, I was on top of a ladder because we did it in the field with the horses. So I was on top of a ladder with my iPhone, an umbrella, a microphone. I think there was like 4 things that I had, and then they're like, Jenny, you don't need. What do you have? I've got this.
This thing. These.
Get rid of that. Get rid of this.
You have to tell this story because I think about it all the time. Where you were literally at your wits' end, where like it was over. You're in North Carolina. You're at that doggone zoo. You've had your last show. It's cold.
Oh no! So I had finished the zoo and I was on tour with a little show that was touring North Carolina.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, the way you tell the story it's just so amazing because I think about it all the time. It makes me think of that scene in Shawshank Redemption where he's out he finally breaks out. He's out in the rain and I'm imagining you in this big old dumpster, getting rid of this carpet. Yes. You're crying. You're like, crap, what's happened to my life?
I'm trying to fit a 60-foot carpet into a 20-foot dumpster with a 2x2 hole.
Right. And like you going, and then what happens? The most amazing thing happens. What happens?
Yeah. So it was snowing and we were about to make another jump. I don't know where. We were going to go to from North Carolina to Minnesota or something like that, and it was snowing, so I was terrified of the roads, but we had to get off this lot, of course, and I had been sick, so and my grandparents are with me. I've got 2 rigs, so there's a guy driving one rig and I'm driving the other, and so I had hauled my own carpet in these armories so the ponies could work, and I had laid it was the last town, so I put the carpet by the dumpster, and whatever authorities came over and said, you can't leave that carpet there. You take it with you, or it has to go in the dumpster. And the trailer is loaded. I would have to unload all of the animals, set up the pens again in their stalls, to load this carpet. So I'm like, oh, it's going in. It's going in the dumpster. So I got my knife and I'm cutting the carpet. I'm just trying to, with my entire body, just like pushing it with my feet, trying to get, fit it in. And I got it in. And there was a guy helping me, and I'm like, okay, it's in. Go back. I'll get this last section. Just go back and get ready to go. Okay, all right. So I'm sitting on this last piece of carpet, and I just start crying, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it anymore. And I gotta cry now because I can't go back to my grandparents crying. I gotta just do it. And so I'm crying, and then my phone rings. And it's my ex-husband, who is now Tim Holst's assistant, I believe. At the time, he was Tim Holst's assistant.
Late great Tim Holst.
How are you? And I'm like, well, I've had better days. And he said, look, I know you're having a rough time over there. And I know you're driving tonight. I just wanted to let you know that your video got to the Felds, and they're looking very seriously at it. And so I think you shouldn't give up just yet. And I'm like, okay.
For those of you who don't know, that's the call every circus artist, at least in America, wants to receive. Feld Entertainment, who owned Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, the late great Tim Holst, who was the vice president of talent and production. I mean, that's the call everybody wants to receive, and receive it at that moment where it's like, I'm done. Forget it, God. It's over.
There was, sitting on the carpet in the dumpster, I believe there was a broken blinky light up sword next to me, and the deflated SpongeBob SquarePants vinyl on the other.
You couldn't go any lower. Talk about rock bottom. That was rock bottom, and it had a flashy sword and SpongeBob. It's on rock bottom. I love this story. I'm telling you, I'm waiting for Netflix or somebody to reach out to you, because your life story is worthy of that. I know you have some publishing fans who really want you to have have a book, especially about your grandparents and just their story. I mean, their story alone. I mean, your family story is just, it's charming. It's so beautiful. It's so epic. It's a quintessential American circus story. And I guess this sounds sort of but do you still feel them? Do you feel like their influence on you? Do you feel like they watch you?
100%, all of the time. And it is so strong sometimes. And, when I'm in the ring and I'm trying to figure out an animal, whatever the animal is, it's like, and I just sit down, and Poppy's there, man. Poppy's there. And he would always say, Jennifer, when you have a problem, sit down in the ring and think about what you're doing wrong, because it's not the animal. It's what are you doing wrong? And then stop thinking about it and just be in that moment and do, that's how you connect, is being in that moment. And so I feel it all of the time. When I'm working with the animals, it's Poppy there, and it's so strong, and so like you said, woo. It's wow. There. And then when I'm working with these kids every day, I feel my grandmother, she ran this pony camp, and it was so amazing. And we're still getting these phone calls from these campers, and I see these little kids, and they're just so excited. They jump out of the car and they run over and they give me a hug with their mask on. And it's like, and distance. It's like, it's a new thing, but it's like, wow, this is like, it's super cool. It's super cool. And I absolutely, they're here.
Oh, wow. Well, You know what you do for me, and I can only imagine what you've done for the many, many millions that you've entertained over the years, and you will continue to entertain and reach in new and mighty platforms. Who knows? You'll be back on the World Wide Web. Somehow you'll figure that wonky stuff out.
Well, maybe somebody else will figure it out. No, I'll just
Well, that's what you need. Somehow it works out for you. It works out for you because I guess you just stay in your lane, as the kids do say. You stay in your lane, and your lane is making magic with some fantastic beings, and you just do that, and you're always with that. And I think it's so impressive, and it's really an act of courage, because a lot of us, especially in a time like this, you could jump ship because you're like, I gotta do something, and forget, listen, just tend to your gift and tend to the thing that's in you to do. And I think it's held you in good stead, and you're still doing just fine, and you're still serving and entertaining, and who knows what's on the other side of this thing. But you'll definitely be ready.
Yeah, it's really been a great experience this summer, because okay, I have no idea, and I'll see the bank account dwindling, and it costs a lot of money to feed these horses and dogs and goats and pigs, and I just told myself, just don't panic. What am I going to do? Panicking isn't going to help. I'm just going to do what I know how to do. And stuff just started coming. And this one little boy turned into 20 other students. And then there's parents coming, well, what about the farm experience? And so I'm like, yeah, we can do a farm experience. And these are all, in the summer, I was going well into dark because it's all individual. It's not like a class, it's one or two kids if they're from the same family. And it just after a few months, I'm like, what? This is paying our bills. And we're having fun. And so I think, and I was reflecting back on my career, and, I always wanted to be on Ringling, and there I was. And the ultimate dream was Big Apple Circus with that dirt ring. If you have horses, that dirt ring.
That was your queendom. That was your queendom. You were the queen there.
It was just unbelievable that I was there, and I was there for 10 years. And then so to come back home, and now we have COVID, and it's I just had such okay, what's next? Let's,
no matter how treacherous the road may have been, being next to SpongeBob and all, but the fact is you got there, and you got there by staying true to who it is you are and what it is you are. This is a very inspiring conversation that I need to hear, definitely personally. And I hope there are a lot of artists, especially who will be watching, who are, scratching their heads now and feeling tremendous fear, probably, and just feeling lost. I hope they hear this, because, there is something much bigger and much higher than us at work. And I think when we behave in what we're designed to do, it always pays off in the most unexpected ways.
Yeah. And it's, like I said, this summer was just so inspiring. And for example, there was two brothers that came, and the parents, they were hardcore. They didn't want them they didn't come here for them to learn how to ride. They just wanted a safe outdoor activity, but they were serious about it, and they stayed for every lesson. So 2 boys, 1 hour lesson each. And they just stayed and enjoyed the farm while the one boy was taking a lesson. They would switch. And what was so interesting was that we do a little bit of a lesson, and then we go on a very long pony ride. So probably 30 minutes, and we go all over the farm, and we visit the other horses. And I started just realizing, wow, I've never seen so many kids that are so chatty. They're talking about everything. I know everything about these kids. And then I realized, and a parent had pointed it out, is they don't talk to anybody. They're not, so now they're off the phone, they're in nature, they're connecting with the animals, and they have somebody to talk to. It was just this like, wow, this is really cool. This is really cool. And that was a pretty consistent formula that was happening, but just that you just saw these kids just blah. They told me everything, and then just so comfortable on the horse and nature and enjoying the trees. And then when they're saying, I love the sound of the stream, the water going, and I'm like, what kid says that?
Right. Right.
So it's cool. It's just cool.
How magical. You are magical, Jenny Vidbel. You're
Let
magical.
me get my unicorn. Hang on.
Yes. Your unicorn. And where's the rainbow?
There's a butterfly.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm going to do what I've always been wanting to do for years in my career. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, she is the wonderful Jenny Vidbel.
That was beautiful.
Oh.
The Black experience in circuses go back hundreds of years, and we do it with our own style. The circus has been a microcosm of the outside world. Many of the same prejudices that you see in the outside world are present in the circus.
So it's moving past the vision or the limited vision that the society has for you and stepping into the talent and skill that you know you have to go forward as a performer.
The circus is a vast international community, and there's only one place to connect for jobs, events, the latest news, and so much more. circustalk.com. Join today.